2, 1. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Failure Friday, where we get to talk to friends, family members, business owners, clients, sometimes complete strangers, about how their business and the failures in their business has shaped them professionally, personally, and made them better. On social media, a lot of the time we hear about the glorious highlights of people's lives, and it's always so plush and beautiful. But the reality is, real character and wisdom, especially professionally, is built through falling on your face. So today we have a friend of mine in one of my networking groups, BNIs, where we met. Her name is Britt O'Donohue. Britt is a Christian and single mother of 5. Professionally, she is currently head of a business development for a large firm here in North Florida, but her passion has always been social media marketing. She has used these skills to help scale businesses for attorneys all the way to hedge funds and now real estate companies. So hi, Britt. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you.
Why don't you
Happy to be here.
A pretty brief intro, but how did you get into this space? I know when we had our one-to-one and I got to know you more, it can't be summed up in a 15-second elevator pitch. So why don't you expand a little bit on where you came
from? We would have to be here for a couple of hours. But I fell into social media marketing. I just had a love for it. Right after high school, I moved to New York City, and during that time, that was the MySpace era. I always had the dreaded, stress and pressure of who was going to make my top 8, I think at the time. Got to learn a little bit of coding. It was never fun. You knew you were going to ultimately piss somebody off. And got to, and also pick out your favorite theme song. That's one of my favorite things about Instagram, is that you can apply music to whatever. I'm a avid music lover, but always have been social, and I really understood the power of online. When I moved back from New York, I started working for an agency instead of in front of the camera, but behind. And that's when I really started learning Twitter. Twitter was big at that time. And I had brought on some pretty big clients. I worked with people in the infomercial space, health and wellness, and televangelists, which is...
What's televangelist? Explain that, because that was the first time I've heard that.
So televangelists at that time were preachers that were speaking on different media platforms. A lot of times it started with like our media agency specifically worked on television and radio spots, and we were dabbling into the world of social media because we did not understand how powerful it was going to be. So back then, people would market direct mail, so that would be what comes to your house, mailers, and then television spots, which would be anything from 30 minutes to hour-long segments. And these preachers would have a full production crew. We would build sets for them. And they would also have their sermons and all different types of pastors. But they would have their sermons recorded, and then we would bring them back and edit them, add a call to action. And that was one way that they monetized it. And then they had book deals, radio. So we kind of managed all of that media portfolio for them. And the same would go with people who had infomercial products, a lot of health and wellness. Again, that late night television that you used to get stuck watching.
That's what I was thinking of when you said that. I was like, is that the stuff that comes on late night, like with the shopping and...
Yeah, a lot of it. This was before anything online really had taken off. So a lot of weight loss products.
I bet.
Where you would have the jeans.
Weight loss and a Snuggie.
Yes, Snuggie. There was one that we did. It was a product that was supposed to shave years off of or not shave years off of your life. I guess that would not be a good product. Add years to your life. So it would be, it came from grapes. And I mean, whatever they brought to us, we weren't allowed to. It was like condensed down grape liquid, I want to say, like a syrup, almost like an elderberry kind of look like. Yeah, and it was supposed to like help you live longer or something. We worked with the Department of Tourism in Israel. We did an olive oil and olive tree program. I've worked with humanitarian people. So again, all of that was more so listening to your client, understanding what their product was and who their market was. And then our job was to help them, get it on the right channels to sell it, essentially.
There are so many different lanes there. How difficult would that be as a business to service that vast of a client base? I mean, it's almost like you had to learn an entire industry every time you brought on a new client.
That is really the world of marketing, is that your job is to take your creative mindset, mix it with a business component, listen to what your client wants, try to get in their head, and then portray it out on paper, film, whatever media type you're going to do it on. Yes, so you do essentially have to kind of if you want to be good at it, you have to kind of immerse yourself into it. And that's why a lot of times, people will have in-house marketing. And the reason for that is because nobody knows your business better than yourself, especially if you live it day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, going back to MySpace, I am curious how many times you changed your layout. Like, I was a once a week type of girl myself.
Yeah, I definitely did it a lot. There would be like a season where it would just be like the straight, that was like the ride or die crew. But then something happens, or you meet somebody else, or you're in a different stage in your life.
You have a breakup.
You have a breakup. That's one of my biggest things. I tell people, please do not if you are not married, please do not put your personal relationship on Facebook until you know. You know what I mean? Because
especially if it's a business page.
Oh gosh, because then everybody will get out the popcorn and the wine and sit there and snoop through the pictures, and then they'll be like, they completely erased that person. I'm guilty of it. So.
And my first MySpace, I don't remember my first layout because that changed all the time, but I will never forget the first song I had on my MySpace. It was Candy Shop by 50 Cent.
Ooh, mine was so fresh
little
and
white
so
girl.
Clean.
Yeah, that's
mine
not
was
much
so
better.
fresh and so clean.
A little bit better.
Yeah, that was also my AOL screen name. So fresh and so clean. And my dad was like, cool, what are you telling people? Like, you shower? I was like, never mind, Dad. Just
yeah, Dad.
Don't pick up the phone. Don't pick up the phone. Okay, I'm trying to hook up to the internet.
Mine was Skittle Lover.
It was what?
I still have that email. Skittle Lover.
Oh, okay. Skittle Lover.
Okay. Unhealthy addiction to that candy. But okay, so that was the background to the career path, which goes back a lot farther than I thought, because it goes all the way back to New York, right? I mean, that was modeling. You modeled in New York.
Yeah. Well, you learn. So when I was in college, I got scouted. I did not really know what I wanted to do in school. I was pretty good at creative writing. I knew I didn't want to do anything with math. That's not my favorite thing. I did do a little drama and like different things. But when I moved to New York, I was pretty shy. I was kind of an introvert. I had my clique or my crew, and then that was pretty much it. And then moving to New York, you move to this big city. I lived in a model's apartment with, girls from all over the world. And I was just this white girl that had come from Orange Park, Florida, that nobody knew about and nor cared to. And when I first moved there, I thought, oh, I'm going to be all edgy and cool, because this was, we're just coming off of the whole Kate Moss, Wayfish area. And so I thought I was going to, and they really didn't. They were like, no, we need you to be think Abercrombie, girl next door. You need to stay like that. But my friends were getting buzz cuts and cool mohawks, not me. So I think New York really helped because I didn't know anybody, and it was either feast or famine. You have to learn how to sell yourself. You have to learn how to take your inner personality and exhume it in different settings, whether it was a runway or a print magazine or whatever. And if you did not stand out, a lot of times that was your personality. So you kind of were just forced, if you were going to make it, to be able to sell yourself. So that really helped me. I mean, being in a room with 500 girls all going for the same job, all beautiful, all tall and skinny and all the things, and you're trying to stand out, you learn how to be comfortable with yourself, and B, be comfortable with a lot of people and a lot of eyeballs on you. So I think my New York life helped me a lot when it came to just having some confidence and just faking it till I made it.
Oh, I bet.
And
those skills are so valuable.
so that translated into a business sense that I have worked pretty much the same lane when it comes to inside of a job. I realized really quickly what my skill sets were and what they weren't, and what areas I was going to need help on. And then the power of social media really allowed me to. I don't want to. I don't like facades, and I don't like fakeness. I think it really just allowed me a platform where I could just be myself, and I didn't really care. And so that kind of is how I fell in love with working with other people, trying to figure out what their product was, what their brand was, who they were trying to get their message across to, and how I could help in that area. Because sometimes people haven't been put in scenarios where they had to kind of figure out, or life hadn't really kicked them in the knees yet, to where, or whatever, in the heel, in the tuchus, whatever you want to call it, really hadn't gotten to the place where I had to figure out who they were and who they wanted to be. So I think it goes all the way back to modeling, but really marketing is just understanding what it is that you're trying to convey and get it across.
Yeah, well, not even the time period we're talking about here. I mean, social media has only become more and more influential, powerful
Thank
then.
God. Yeah, I was going to say, thank God social media was not crazy. We would go to MySpace. So, I mean, let me take you back. We're going to remember when Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake wore that jean outfit? Like, that's what we're dealing with. 2003, 4, 5. When we would
Which, by the way, if you got into social media marketing at that point, I mean, you would be so rich right now. Because that's the jump.
Right. That literally was. And one of the ways, one of the things that we would really get excited about was, so the modeling business, it's so funny. I see all these documentaries on Netflix. A lot of them are very, very true. I'm like, yep, that's right. And promoters would hand select models that they like to go to their events and clubs or whatever, because everybody wanted pretty people around up there. Mm-hmm. And we would get so excited if we had a really cool night out. I mean, I did get invited to some really awesome places, got to see a lot of celebrities, and we would get excited to go on MySpace to see the clubs post pictures of what models. Like, that was like the thing. And so now you flash forward to 2023, 20 years later, basically. And it's like that everybody has that opportunity, where in New York, it wasn't always that way. If you were going to be in, specific high society or, super, whatever it is, you had to be picked. And so it was like no different than why Facebook was created. It was a social experiment, started to talk about, hot or not lists, and just, and then it blew up into this whole place now online, where people do showcase not only their business. I mean, we can get into the business aspect of it, but a lot of it was because of wanting to be socially accepted and show other people what they were doing in their life and why they were super cool and why their life was the best or why it was so awesome.
It's really amazing because it's not often that I get to reflect on how far specifically social media has come, but just the power. Like I kicked myself for not making a YouTube when it first came out.
I
kick myself all the time.
I went and saw, I cannot think of his name right now. It'll come to me later, but I went and saw this guy speak, and it was on YouTube about his first, like, he's like a YouTube like guru, and he's written a book about it, and it talks about videos. And one of the things that he talks about is why you have to continue practicing it. And he showcased his first video, and it's like, it's crazy where even somebody like that got on YouTube before it was popular, how far he's come. And now he's like who everybody kind of reads his books and tries to follow if they want to have their own YouTube channel.
And and you'll probably second this, the need of, we're in BNI, right? And BNI is made up of a lot of small business owners and representatives. And I'm in awe every time I'm in that meeting of how little business owners and executives of these small businesses understand how important or instrumental marketing could be in their business. I mean, in our group alone, very few people are even aware of what we are talking about. And to add on to that, the need to continue, because there's always going to be new shit. There's always going to be new stuff. But as you get older, I'm starting to feel it now. There's like this lack of interest in learning the new stuff. Like I was really like against learning TikTok. I was like, I don't need to learn that. But the thing is, to stay relevant, you need to learn it, right?
Yeah, I mean, so this is the bulk of what I do at the firm that I'm at now. I do work with all folks in the real estate arena, including some of our own attorneys and closers, and then real estate agents, loan officers, on almost like a consulting basis, talking to them about just regular how to talk to people and bedside manner. But a lot of times it's about social media. I recently did a class. I had 90 plus people show up, and it was because I used the word AI, and it's like AI. And I was trying to explain to them, you've been using AI for a long time. If you use Siri,
we just didn't
Alexa,
call it
Maps, you just didn't call it that. So it's not this big fascinating thing. It's just that it's moving so quickly that things that you used to, think were cool and gimmicky, like people are using this for, time management. They're using this for creative content. They're using it for social media content. In the real estate world, they're using it for listing descriptions, how to tweak email marketing campaigns so that, you sound a little bit different, or if you have writer's block, especially if you're somebody that is entrepreneurial, if you're not doing any type of marketing, especially, the free stuff out the gate while you kind of get your brand established or trying to keep yourself out there, you're going to get lost. And I get it. 30 years ago, you used to be able to knock on doors, and relationship marketing is still here, but you have to take, social media marketing and online marketing and mix it with that relationship marketing. And how you do that is being able to be yourself online and portray that through a screen. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times, the industry that I work in right now, that average first-time home buyer is 31 years old. It's 32, 30, everybody's a little bit different. Let's just put it this way. It's between 31 and 34. 30s. And that is the same demographic that looks on TikTok and uses TikTok as the number one search engine over Google. The same person that goes to Instagram to see where they want to buy clothes or, all these different things. And that if you're not on there, then you're not staying relevant. And you don't have to do everything. I'm not a huge TikTok fan. Nobody kill me. I just, because of the fact that I have 5 kids and a lot of them are teenagers, I just don't think that there's enough in place to protect them when it comes to TikTok and some of the stuff,
I agree.
content that's pushed. But when it comes to Instagram and Facebook, I mean, I say this all the time. If you have a Facebook business page, I hope you understand that that page was set up to be monetized. And if you are not putting buku bucks into your Facebook business page for ads, nobody's going to see it. And if you're not communicating with others online and feeding the algorithm that you like this and you communicate with that, and these are things that are your likes and interests, then you're going to see the same 5 people over and over again, and those same 5 people are going to see your stuff. So it's like you either buy into it or just stay away and keep door knocking, but you're going to miss the boat because it's only going to progress more.
I agree, and it's easier said than done, but that's why you hire someone, at least on a fractional basis or a consulting basis, which is becoming a lot more popular. So I use a fractional marketing team. They have several clients, but I utilize them for this many hours or for this package, and it is incredible. It's a game changer. And it shocks me how many people I meet, even my own clients, because a lot of my clients own businesses, who don't utilize this. Even if it's not, so my industry specifically, I'm not gonna find my ideal client on Instagram statistically. So I use it more for brand, what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility almost. If I have a client that comes in, a lot of times there's 10 advisors they're looking at online. It helps to have an Instagram with free content on it for them to search through and go back and see the comments and see my pictures, see I'm a real person. That's credibility and branding for me. But other businesses can set up entire shops through Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's taking the place of a website almost to some extent.
Correct.
So
they say that, your Instagram, especially for people that utilize it so heavily, is your grid, which is, for those that are curious, it is when you first look at somebody's Instagram page, you see the circle with their headshot or whatever photo, and then obviously you can click that to see the stories, and then there's this grid of photos, and that is for business owners or businesses or some type of service. This would be your portfolio or your like resume. So it should sprinkle in a little bit of your personality, what you do, what what you're trying to showcase here. And then the highlight reels can be past, different things. Like for me, it's a lot of events or classes that I've taught or success stories in work. And then your stories are your day-to-day to keep people engaged, because it used to be 27 touch points to convert a client. I don't even know what it is anymore, honestly, because since COVID,
I read 15 about a week ago. It depends on what industry you're in, though.
I get, yeah.
Me, sometimes it takes 30.
Right. So it's a lot. You have to stay, top of mind. You have to stay relevant, and you have to stay engaged. And if you are utilizing online as a way to have clients come over for your, industry or service, you have to also be able to know the sales aspect of it, because just because you get somebody in your DMs doesn't mean that you convert them to a client.
Yes.
So
it's called a sales funnel, people. A sales funnel. Track it.
Right.
And maintain a good follow-up process. That is so important to closing leads, because it's useless if you don't have that in place.
Otherwise, you just have a bunch of people that you talk to. It's like sitting in the, local grocery store or something.
And people don't think a lot about this, but it puts a bad taste in my mouth if I contact a business. A lot of times if I'm contacting a business, I've already narrowed down my search to 2 businesses, 3 tops that I'm going to work with. So it's really just a matter of you convincing me. Your competition is pretty much scaled at that point. It drives me crazy when I have to chase someone for their business. Yeah. So I have one boob right now. This implant got deflated. So I was trying to find a plastic surgeon to take out my implant and make my breasts even. And I called 3 plastic surgeons, and I chose one and told them I wanted to move forward. They quoted me and everything. They didn't call me back for 3 weeks.
Wow.
Like when people show interest, it is your responsibility as a business owner to follow up with them and close that lead. And if you don't, there's too many businesses out there that are hungry, especially right now. You have to close. You have to be a closer. But that's a learned skill that some people are naturally gifted with that.
Right.
That's a learned skill, and that's something that you can help people with as well.
Yep. I'm sorry. I'm a visual person, so I'm still stuck on the one boob. I was like,
Yeah, no, it's actually a funny story. When AJ was living in Houston and playing for the Texans, I had to like tire the kids out when I got home from work, so I'd put on wrestling, and we'd all get into it and we'd wrestle. And my daughter got on the side of the couch, and I was laying down pretending like I had fallen out, and she was like, I'm gonna do it. And I was like, no, don't do it. She's like, I'm gonna do it. And she did that thing with the bow, popped immediately, saline implants. So yeah, I gotta do something about it. But it was so frustrating when I got quoted 10 grand. I was like, all right, let's do this. It's gonna get hot out soon. I can't wear long sleeves every day and sweaters.
Yeah.
Like, get me in. And it took 2 weeks and 6 days for someone to call me back. And I was like, I don't even want to go with you anymore. If you're this unorganized, I'll go to someone else. And
right.
that happens in all types of businesses. You have to be a closer. Nobody wants to chase you down to give you money. But the podcast, Britt, is about failure. Certainly it wasn't straight up since New York. Why don't you talk to us about a failure that has shaped you instrumentally in your professional or personal life and made you a better person?
Okay. So I think listen, I mean, life is life. I think people have many failures. And if they don't take those as opportunities to learn, well, you're missing it. You're probably going to go through that again. The one that I chose was just being so sure. I recently had a podcast at my office with a top 50 keynote speaker named Heather Monahan. So anybody that watches this, especially females that are entrepreneurial, I think you need to go find her and watch her. She's all over LinkedIn. She's spoken all over the country, and she's written a couple of different books. And I was just so, she blew up when she lost her job. She got fired, and she put it on social media, and she got asked to be, I'm terrible with names, but she got asked to be on this big radio show in California that everybody listens to. And she was interviewed based on like, why did you put it on the internet that you were fired? And her career took off. So I was thinking about not to write on her coattails at all, but it was a very humbling experience for me during COVID when I was furloughed. Single mom with 5 kids. At this time, my oldest, who now lives in Okinawa, he's a Marine. He was a senior. And my youngest was a kindergartner, and we were going through our first ever pandemic, because I don't really feel like anybody else has gone through those either in our lifetime. So completely did not know what I was going to do. And I had worked for this company. It was a hedge fund technology company. I really thought like, I guess my biggest failure was that I put all eggs in one basket. And so had been with them in the beginning, didn't know a lick about lending. I worked for a new construction lending company, and I was like one of the only female LOs or loan officers, account executive, whatever title you wanted to put on it. And I was working with builders in Atlanta, and I had no idea anything that I was doing. I was like trying to listen to everybody else. One of the owners, he was from the mortgage industry, had made a decent chunk of change from it, and had worked with people during the last economic downturn, a housing crisis. So I was just kind of a sponge and started picking up and realized that, okay, I can leverage the power of LinkedIn to build my book of business, social media again. And so I started working at Atlanta market, realized that if I could get in front of builders through mortgage companies, that we were not in conflict, because I did front end financing and I needed the mortgage companies to take me out of the loan. So if I could have them advertise on dirt lots in the very beginning, they would already have the financing in place. The builder did his job, in and out of the loan in 6 months. And we were in a really nice area because I was able to essentially cut the interest in half. So
well, break that down real quick. Break that down, because a lot of people don't know what front end financing is. What's front end financing?
So basically our company was backed by a bunch of hedge funds, so big pool of money, and we could work with the builder and developers up front. So think of a smaller neighborhood, 40, 42 lots, okay? And we would basically say, for this price, at this rate, we would give you the funding for all 42 lots, and we would cover the dirt, which would be the actual lot, because a lot of times builders had to go get their own land loans, and then they would get their own build loans. And we were stating basically that we could do a portion of the land in the entire build, which was really hard for them to get at banks after the last housing crisis. So we would cover what it would take for the builder from ground to finished construction. And then essentially the mortgage company, so that's who you and I go to if we want to purchase a home, would state, okay, here's my financing options. They would be out looking, working with their realtor partners on finding a buyer at the same time that I was financing the builder to build the home. And so how the partnership worked was that we never stepped on each other's toes, but actually were able to help each other, but we were our own separate entities. And I was able to help with the marketing on it, obviously, because I could say, okay, well, essentially, we're the bank. We own the dirt. Absolutely, you can put all of your mortgage stuff in the yard to promote the sale of this home a lot faster. And so that was kind of my thought process on how to move this along quickly, and it worked. And we got in front of some of the top lenders in Atlanta, private mortgage companies, and we were able to allow them to essentially white label us and state to builders, because at that point I was able to use them as a sales team, and they would go out and get the builders and say, hey, I have front end financing or dirt money or construction funding, however you want to put it, because there's only a couple of options when it comes to a builder for new construction. One, you as a consumer can go out and have the land or buy the land and then get a construction to perm, or for a builder, they're essentially on the hook to go get the land. Usually they have to finance that separately and then get the construction funding. If they're a bigger, more qualified builder, they can get a line of credit at a bank. But if they're not, your small to medium sized guys, it's a lot, and they have to wait for these to be done. Absolutely. For them to be able to do that. So that's where I came in, and I was like, well, actually we can do X, Y, and Z. And
with fewer regulations.
Yeah, I was non-recourse lending, so I didn't have to go through. We still had a vetting process, so it's not like we were just giving out money. We weren't a hard money lender either, so our rates were more comparable with the bank, but a little bit more expensive, obviously, because there's risk involved. But I just always was trying, my whole thought process, and I think what I'm best at is finding a need and finding a solution. What do we need and how do we get there? And I love to connect people, and that's how it works. And I do that now in my business now. But so all that to say, I was really feeling confident. Like, we're humming along. You know, if this company takes off, because it was a small startup, you know, I'm going to be trying to get some equity, you know, like, what are we going to do? And I think that sometimes in life we can put all of our eggs in one basket, and we don't always protect ourselves because we are like, you know, things are going great. Let's just ride this forever. And then in 2019, we started hearing about, at the end of it, we started hearing about this bat flu or something in overseas. And like, I really wasn't even, I mean, if anybody looks back when you were November, December of 2019, like, I think for a lot of us, you know, it's like a Men in Black thing that like happened, you know, like with the button.
Well, that
And
I
it's
was
like,
comparing it to, like, you remember like was it pig flu or swine flu we had, which was like nothing, and then we had the mad cow thing, which was like just headlines. So I was thinking it was just gonna be like that.
yeah, I mean, I definitely had no idea. And so all of a sudden, like, things are getting weird, and we had international funds, and they were already seeing some of the stuff that was going on in Italy. You know, as we kind of creeped in, I take a sabbatical every winter for about a week and unplug. I went to Tahoe that year. And I remember coming back on the plane. It was New Year's Eve night. I never got to see the ball drop. And then my entire world like flipped upside down between January and February. Basically, funding was drying up. We had to put people on hold, which is never good when business is going. And I really was like, because I had gone through a divorce, and I had pretty much put this as my trajectory of my, you know, new career path. I would just kind of go where this kind of led me. And when that happened, I think I basically, March of that year, I was let go, or I could stay on without payment. And I was like, wait a second, what? Well, there's 5 kids and 1 me. And I just don't think, I just don't know. I mean, we were freaking out washing our groceries at this time. I mean, people were masking their entire face. I was afraid to go out, you know, and it was just, and so for 2 months, 3 months, thank God, I was really trying to buy an investment property. And so I had a decent chunk of change for that. And like, the kids and I lived off of that while we were figuring out. And I had job opportunities that came to my door, but like, they were, you know, can you help us? Because my passion is to inject myself in the marketing and sales and consulting realm for small to medium-sized businesses to help them grow. Like, that is my straight up passion. Getting in under the hood, figuring out what they're doing, and or if they're not doing anything, and how to come up with a plan that makes sense on all marketing sides, including, let's look at your staff, how you're engaging with people, what's your customer service like, what are your Google reviews, like, put me through the entire process so that I can tell you where we might find some loop, you know, like poke some holes through it. And it was like, do you want to come help us with our gym? It's failing. Well, nobody was really working out at that time. People weren't even saying hello, you know? So it was like one thing after another. And I remember just sitting here with my kids. I'm so thankful for that time with my kids, but also freaking out, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I think that really, that was probably one of the most impactful moments of my time, because, or a career, because I just really didn't know, like, if you don't know how to pivot, and like, pivoting is the biggest part of being able to be successful, period, in life. Because how often is it that we set ourselves on a path or a trajectory, and it just stays that constant same road all the way out till we're 70, 80, 90? Very rarely. And I think that I just had gotten so much into a mindset of freak out mode that
Comfort.
I could not get myself out of this hole mentally.
Well, what was the solution? Because what was the pivot that you had to make, and how did you make it?
So I got a call. So let's fast forward to May. And it's funny because a lot of these time hop, and this is another reason I love social media. I'm not a huge journal person, and it's just because I think my ADHD doesn't let me sit down long enough to be able to write. It is on my goals for this year to write more. I did buy 2 journals. One I've written 3 pages in. But the other one isn't. It's just blank. One was for business ideas. One was for more spiritual and personal ideas. And honestly, I should probably just put the 2 together and we might fill out more pages.
You should.
But I had a little pity party. I tell everybody, you know what? Allow yourself if you need it. We're human. I had a pity party for but not that long. I think it was maybe a week. I think it was probably about a week, where I was feeling real freaking sorry for myself. And then I was looking around the world and the news and everything that was going on. And I'm like, holy crap, I can't be this person for my kids. So I'm going to have to kind of pull myself out of that. And then in May, I got a call from somebody, and I started using social media. I use social media for jobs, for sanity. And, I was yelling at Ron DeSantis because there was all these people that didn't have jobs and they couldn't, the whole, what is it called? Unemployment thing had crashed. And so I was really social media again, for me, it helped me a lot because that was such an isolating time. Everybody was locked in their houses. You had really you were only, my parents had moved back from New York right in November of that year. They were very lucky of 2019. So they were here and I was able to see them. But
You're so lucky.
People were isolated from their families. They were dealing with a lot of their friends back in New York were, there was people dying. It was just not good. But I got a call, it was a Monday night from who's now my boss. From at the time, it was a strange man I had never heard of because I always worked in other markets. And he was talking to me about they needed in-house marketing. And I was like, do you not know that there's this pandemic going on? And he was like, nope. Yeah, I do, but business as usual. And everybody's moving to Florida because that's when we started seeing the shift in Florida compared to some of the other states and what was going on. And I was like, okay. And he was like, come in for an interview. And then I started asking, some of the questions. It was a pay cut in the beginning. And I was like, but at this point, I was about 3 months in of not having a job. And I was consulting on the side. So I was able to still make, a little bit of money. But essentially, I had no paychecks coming in. And when you got 5 hungry mouths that are freaked out about the world, it definitely gives you some kind of drive and motivation.
Oh, I bet.
So I went and had this conversation, and when I went to this office, there was none of all the employees were in the office, and I was like, it felt like I was in the Twilight Zone a little bit. I had just gone to the grocery store where people would barely even, if they were on the same aisle as you, they ran.
The arrows and Publix.
Oh my gosh!
So
I was I was just terrible about the mask wearing. It would fog up my glasses. I'm sure I annoyed a lot of people, and I'm so sorry.
Oh, I definitely did.
I had my own opinions about it because I'm a health nut, and I had obviously worked in that space for a long time, and all you learn about is your antibodies and your body and feeding it right and taking care of yourself and all of these things. And I'm like, what about our immune system? Are we just giving up on that? But anyways, that's another time. I'm not trying to piss anybody off.
We're in the same spot there, but
so I went in and there was none of the employees were wearing masks. There was actually a sign on the door that stated like it was not like that you did not have to. And I sat down in a regular interview after going through like 90 days of straight, like, well, actually, it was longer than that, but 90 days of like straight Twilight Zone. And we started talking. And when I listened, I said, well, you've been in business since, essentially 2005. What did you do during the last economic downturn and when the housing crisis happened? And he was like, well, I pivoted. I became a short sale king. I learned what we needed to do and what the market was going in. And I literally was like, you know what? You're my people. I'll take it right now. I'll start tomorrow. And I literally started after that. But I think it was me it was a completely different world. I had never worked with a realtor before in my life. And now I'm really good friends with tons of them. I did not know the space. I did not know anything. And I think if I would have sat and waited around for a job that was very similar to what I had before, I would not have made the right decision. And so personally, myself, I pivoted and realized like, this is the world that we're in right now. And I need a career that's steady, that makes sense with people that are like-minded. And let's see what we can grow together. And I think at that point, I think I was like the 42nd or 43rd employee. And 2023, I think we're celebrating over 100.
Wow. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Who knew? So
well, apparently you did.
you know what? I'm a big believer of going with your gut, and my gut. And the other two opportunities that were in my email and that I had gotten through a couple of interviews with, two of them had a better pay, but like it was okay. The pay was there, but the risk of the company and, when you work for big box corporate America, a lot of times you become just a number, another employee. And I have not ever experienced that in my career, and I don't want to. It's just not. I think I have a little bit of authority. What is this? I don't like authority. I'm a little bit of a rule breaker.
That's
so
me.
I need
we
the
do better in
flexibility.
small spaces.
Yeah, and I don't need to be put in a box. Like, I work so much better. The creative side of me, I do have two brain types, which I'm very thankful for. Because if I was straight all creative, I might be out in the field somewhere picking flowers and drawing pictures. So I do.
I have a friend like that.
Which is fine. Those are like the best friends. But when you've got a family to feed and a household to support, that doesn't really work. So I like the ability to collaborate and learn. I've learned so much in the past 3 years where I'm at. My confidence in myself being in that kind of environment too, it just skyrockets, because whenever you can have creative liberty and freedom, with parameters, because everybody needs some, boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it just offers yourself, your company, your employees to just kind of flourish. And so that's really what we've seen over the past couple of years, especially in a lot of trials in my industry.
Britt, who's your ideal client? Someone that you would like to work with?
I mean, so I love people. I guess for anybody that works in the real estate world, so that could be a lot. I work with and or referral partner with or even collaborate. So obviously right out the gate, it would be real estate agents. But also I work heavily with mortgage loan originators, banks, small to medium-sized builders still. I do stuff with financial advisors and planners because I work with a lot of attorneys. And so there's a referral exchange on that. But I even like listening and talking to investors. And so really I'm open to a lot of people that are kind of in that space in some capacity.
And the firm you work for, they do a lot of educational classes as well. So if that's something and you're in the North Florida area and you fall into this market, that might be worth your time to connect with Britt and see how you guys, because I recently did a very casual educational wine tasting event, and it was fun. Those are my favorite types of events, the casual ones where I can really be myself and don't have to be super polished. So that's a great experience for not only exposure, but to meet people, which is so important when you're a small business, getting plugged into your community. What is the best way to reach you, Britt?
So you can find me online because I'm on it all the time. So on Facebook, I'm Britt O'Donoghue, and on Instagram, I'm Britt_OD_11. I communicate a lot online with past, present, prospects, everybody in between. And you can also email me, or and that's probably the best ways to first interact. Classes is huge. We do everything from, I teach a lot of social media marketing and branding classes. I actually have one tomorrow morning at 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's going to come early. It's in Ponte Vedra too. I was like, And then we are going to do our AI and social media class in April, but we'll do 1031 exchange classes, which is a very interesting tax thing. I don't even like talking about it because we have a attorney that is both licensed here in New York that comes and speaks on this complex thing. We do, title escrow classes, how to read a contract. A lot of agents don't fully know how to read a contract, especially newbies. So we'll help with that, what certain things mean. So it's really, and I take in questions all the time, or not so much questions, but like certain...
Teach this class.
Yeah, basically. Comments,
demands.
Like, hey, I would really like to learn more about how, just like what you guys did for me, which was awesome. I had nothing but positive feedback from those agents. I mean, a lot of them, excuse me.
You're okay. Take a sip of wine.
I know. Ooh, you got me. My dog's looking at me right now and she's just like, yeah, get it together. But, they're so busy, carting around people, dealing with all of the stuff on their side, then trying to figure out what their marketing thing looks like. And a lot of times they fall short on, understanding that essentially they're running a business. So when they get to have, one-on-one dialogue, or even 15-on-1 dialogue where they can ask questions about, taxes and what should I be doing with this chunk of change, and investment, and how should I set up my business, and how should I pay myself, all of that stuff, it's just awesome for them to have a resource. So I do that stuff too, obviously, and set it up with fine folks like yourself.
Yeah, it was a cool event, and we'll make sure to tag all of these things and put them in the description area. I might have you send me your email again, just so it's spelled correctly, and we'll upload it to YouTube and Spotify. So if you guys want to contact Britt, reach out, find out what resources are available to you, super valuable, and a lot of it's free for you if you want to come be a part of those classes. So that's definitely a resource you'd like to have. And I want to say thank you so much, Britt, for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was. All right. Have a good night.
All right.
And that's another episode. Oh, wait, shit, Britt. Can't interrupt the exit. And that's Failure Friday. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight, and tune in next week. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, you can shoot a DM, and there is a quiz for you to fill out to make sure that everyone's on the same page. We love to have these meetings, but we don't want anyone to say something that we have to delete the episode later. We want to keep everyone happy and organic conversation. We try not to keep it scripted. So that questionnaire is very important to me. So let's get connected and see if you'd be a good fit. Have a good night. Thank you, Britt.